I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. Once again, bringing back Katie Williamson, getting some really insightful knowledge and perspectives as to how we can begin to transform our lives. And I know she's got some excellent programs out there. She's also a coach. And you have a 6-week program, I think, out there to help people with their transformation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show. So I want to thank you for coming back again, Katie.
Yes, thank you for having me, Bart.
So let's talk about a difficult topic, I think, for all of us. And, we've addressed some of the things about, who are we as human beings, having compassion for ourselves, what's the timing of our life, what's our purpose and what's that warrior. And all of that has to fit in the context of our environment, the culture around us. But I think sometimes what happens is that, we're fighting against opposing views. And again, I'm from the mindset is that there are no negative beings out there. We're either good or we're neutral. And this is actually from, I think it was Viktor Frankl who positioned it that way. And he really started looking at, how we need to look at our personal psychology as being generative and positive. And so in essence, all behavior is motivated by positive intent. Whether the actual behavior is good or not, that's something else. But everything is motivated by positive intent. And so all that opposition that we see out there can, of course, be interpreted as people attempting to be positive, to be a positive influence all the way around. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. And so in that context, how is it that we navigate? How do you feel that we need to navigate that arena where, we've got our strong beliefs that we worked hard to find? At least I know that you've been doing that. I know that I've been doing that. And it's where we find that space that we feel really good about ourselves. But it can be opposing other people's views. So share with me your experiences, your journeys, your perspectives, and perhaps what you coach others.
Yeah, my mind's going a lot of different directions about where to start. So I think what comes to mind the strongest I just want to start out with is sharing a little bit of my story and why this is so much on my heart and my mind right now. So I'm 31 and I'm not married. I haven't been married before. I don't have kids. And in my experience, this is outside of the norm. And I will say that, growing up and still, I've always had a strong desire to get married and have a family, to be a wife and a mom. And so I'm coming from the perspective of, yes, this is something I desire. And yes, it hasn't happened yet. And so it's interesting because I feel that I just had a different perspective growing up in the church. For example, going through the church in my 20s and being single still, buying my own house, having my own career, looking at changing jobs. There's little nuances where not going the path of society has been difficult to reconcile, because on one hand, I'm very proud of the life that I've created and am very fulfilled in what I do. And on the other hand, there are times where I feel that void that's like that already not yet. And sometimes that's come up in thoughts of, well, what's wrong with me that it hasn't happened yet? Sometimes it's come up in judgments of seeing other people and thinking, really? Like they got it already and not me? Sometimes it's come up in defensiveness of feeling like I have to defend why I'm in the place that I'm at. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting road to navigate, because I've also realized, being on the outside in, looking at friends' marriages, and families, and observing others in society, I do have judgments about it now that sometimes I don't feel qualified to share, because I fear the retaliation of, but you haven't been in this situation. So there's a lot underneath it, which is why I'm like, oh, I don't know what direction to start in.
So let's ask this question, right? And do you agree that, with these opposing views, that people are still motivated by positive intent? And if that's the case, how do we actually respond to that? How do you think we should respond to that? Because once again, remember, right, not everybody has the kind of awareness that you might have, and therefore perhaps is not going to understand what it is that you're saying. And I bring this up because in today's world, there is so much opposition, and people are really quite aggressive at drowning out your right to have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate. And I think it's very, very misplaced. And to say, yes, I am open-minded as long as you agree with me, and which is just wrong. And so,
or even, I'm open-minded and will hear your opinion, so long as you're married, or so long as you have kids.
right.
Because I've been told that as well when it comes to things that aren't even about marriage or parenting. But anyways, to answer your question, what I would say, what's been so monumental and instrumental for me in navigating this, is really becoming clear on what I need to fill back up, and what that looks like in terms of community. So for me, it has been critical to find people in my life, both men and women, who I trust, who I feel safe with, who I can be vulnerable with, who I can have fun with, and who I know are going to have my back just as much as I have theirs. That has been huge for me. I've gone through, especially this last year, I've had a lot of friendships that have just kind of dissipated, whether it's been a quick break or slow. And that's been really painful. And yet, at the same time, I'm thankful for each of them, because it's pushed me or nudged me in a direction of becoming really clear of what kind of friendships do I want, what kind actually build me up, and then looking for that specifically. And also being part of a community that really fills me up as well. And so those two things are critical, and I haven't found them in the places that society would say that that's where I need to be. And so what's been interesting in my journey has been when I've come up to an opposing belief, whether it's internally or whether it's from someone else. What I would say, if it's from someone else, then that just means it's triggered something. If it's triggered something inside of me, I've used that as a cue to start peeling back my own layers and think, what is the belief underneath this that's causing me to feel upset? And once I get to that belief, I ask myself, is this actually true? Is this belief serving me? And in some instances, I can say, yes, I can see there's reason for that. And then that puts me on a path of figuring out what to do next. Right. There's been other times where that answer has been no. And so I've actually changed that core belief to be more in alignment with who I am today. And then that dis-ease about the situation is gone, and I can stand true in the actions that I'm taking because I know what values they're in alignment with.
I think you said something that's really important. As social beings, We like to belong and we like to be witnessed. I mean, these are important parts in their lives. But one of our biggest fears is not being loved and being rejected or not being enough. And so the key is that the culture that you're born in, and I mean culture in all of its contexts, small versus large, family versus community, whatever that is, you may not feel that you can be aligned with them, and you're going to be rejected. People that are uber successful too, I mean, they're rejected oftentimes by the closest people because they're not willing to do the work, and they feel inferior now because somebody else is successful. The point of the matter is, and I think you articulated it well, is that we have to choose our relationships, and we have to have a hierarchy of relationships too. And those are the people that are closest to us, that hold us to a higher standard. And then there's the people that are really close to us, that are friends and family that we relate to and love and will take care of, but at different levels. And so I love what Jim Rohn once said is, stand guard at the door of your brain. And so in essence, if people are just not congruent with you or resonate with you, that's okay.
Right.
It's their journey. Perhaps it's their work to do. But if we're suffering, well, that's a signal. And, to quote Byron Katie again, that's actually, a signal that we have something to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So I love what you said about, finding the right people to have fun with, to learn with, to co-create, all these things.
Yeah, and I'll share an example. Last year I realized that I was starting to just have some suffering, for lack of a better word, because one of my jiu-jitsu classes that I enjoyed going to was on a Sunday morning. And growing up, for me, I was always in church on Sunday morning. And, in order to be a good Christian, in order to be close to God, then you don't miss church. And for many, many years of my life and through my 20s in college, I was in church every Sunday, usually more than half the week, to be honest. And I was struggling with that. I won't get into my whole spiritual journey, but I was frustrated because I didn't want to go to church just to check the box when all I did was show up, go in and get coffee, go sit by myself, to listen to worship music by myself, to listen to a pastor talk to me by myself, to walk out and shake someone's hand and say, have a good week, and get in my car and go home. And when I would go to jiu-jitsu, I'd get a great workout. So I have all of those benefits. I'm around my teammates. Sometimes we talk about life, like just night and day. And so when I started peeling back those layers of, why do we go to church? Well, it's to strengthen community. Okay, am I actually strengthening community in my life the way I'm doing church right now? No, I'm not. So where is my community? My community is at the gym. So instead I changed it, and I did pray about it also, and just said, okay, God, open my eyes to how I can strengthen the community with my team and be a light there instead. And it was amazing. Once I gave myself that freedom, my relationships with my teammates deepened. We even started talking about our own spiritual journeys and connecting outside of the gym. And it was like, the point of going to church is not to check a box on Sunday morning. What was really the heart underneath that? It's having people to do life with. So if I'm doing life with people at my jiu-jitsu gym, then I'm not going to stress about not being at church on Sunday. You can stress about it, but I'm not going to. And that's the attitude that I took, and I don't really go to church anymore.
You're creating your own church in your own way.
Exactly.
I really want to thank you, because this perspective is relevant. And so, we have one life to live. And so let's live it in the best version of ourselves. And that's discovering who we are at the deepest level, our beliefs, our values, what fills us up, who do we want to connect with, loving what is and loving this moment, every single moment, and being that best version of ourselves. And so, you're not going to be aligned with everybody on this planet. It's just not possible. It's never going to happen. So not even worry about it. And quite frankly, when there's that challenge, then there's work to do somewhere. And sometimes it means just getting out of that space and whatever that is for you. So once again, Katie, how do people find you?
So you can find me on my website, www.katiewilliamsoncoaching.com, or on Instagram and Facebook at legit Katie Williamson, or you can send me an email, katie@katiewilliamsoncoaching.com.
That is awesome. So Katie, I'm going to give you the last word.
Okay, I guess I would just end with one of my favorite quotes by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the realization that something else is more important than fear." So I would encourage you to be courageous and know that it's not about getting rid of fear in your life, but it's about choosing to do it anyways.
I love that. What a brilliant quote. And I'm going to add to that. And I heard this from Will Smith. I don't know if it came from him or not, but on the other side of fear is freedom. And so, yes, courage and freedom are tangled together. It is what we desire in life, to be our best version. And it requires courage, being that warrior self, all available to us to protect ourselves, to protect others, to protect this planet. And certainly with people like Katie Williamson helping others, all together, we can make this place a better place. So thank you, Katie, and I'll be back.
Thank you, Bart.
To finish off, let me just say, I am Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, real success. Tapping into that authentic genius that's inside of us, living that life that we desire, but we have to also tap into that intelligence, the brain, the body, and the energy intelligence. It just requires us to do the work to navigate that intelligently and live an amazing life. So once again, I'll be back, and thank you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Your Transformation. Continue the path towards discovering your own authentic genius by tuning in next time for more real conversations with real people.